50 years. A lot can happen in 50 years. Ajax was the best team in the world in the 70s, and nowadays, they're not even among the 20 best teams in Europe. That's just a fraction of how the game can change, and with the world now evolving at such a rapid pace, I wonder what the future will look like for football. So after a lot of research, I decided to show you the astonishing transformations that the game will suffer in the next 50 years. But that's not all. By the end of this video, you'll gain insights that will change the way you view football forever. What if I told you that the very essence of football is destined for a transformation so epic, it might just alter the fabric of our society? But first, the thing I got us hooked in the beginning, the matches. If you think a football match will play out the same way for the next 50 years, you're absolutely crazy. Piqué wasn't out of his mind when he said that football fans are looking to be entertained and that 90 minutes was way too much. I don't believe that the Kings League will replace football, but I do believe it will influence it a lot. For example, football matches will most likely be cut short to about an hour long with two 30-minute halves. But in a more positive note, time wasting will probably die because the clock will be stopped whenever the ball isn't rolling. Oh, and by the way, if you don't agree with a card or a foul, it will be pointless to argue since the refs will either be robots, or if they're still human, they will only be there to follow the VAR's orders and mediate conflict. In the end, from a spectator point of view, the matches will last more or less the same, but you'll see much more action than before. Heck, I know this one is a bit more far-fetched, but I wouldn't be surprised if coaches had unlimited subs by that period. But all of those advantages will happen for a reason, and that's because there will be way more football matches. The NBA has 82 games in a season. They do that to maximize revenue, and I believe football is already following their strategy. We're already seeing teams play over 60 matches in a single season, and I can only see that number grow even larger. Which leads us to the changes in competition formats. The World Cup is a unique tournament and the ultimate prize in football. Most of its value is due to the fact that it's only played every 4 years, and in almost 100 years of its existence, there have only been 8 different winners. Well, unfortunately, I believe that's also about to change. FIFA President Gianni Infantino wants a World Cup to be played every 2 years, and it's very likely that it will be approved sooner rather than later. In a more positive note, teams like Curaçao, Kosovo, Burkina Faso, and many others will have a chance to play in the grandest stage, and I'm sure we'll witness some crazy underdog runs. On the other, it will take away some of the competition's value and aura. But what do you think? Should the World Cup be played every 2 years? Let me know in the comments below. But the World Cup is just the tip of the iceberg. The league systems and continental competitions are also in for a massive overhaul. Everyone remembers the quick rise and fall of the European Super League, but I believe that competition is bound to happen, just not the way it was originally planned. You see, the Premier League is gaining a massive financial advantage over every other league. The Champions League is doing little to balance things out, and the gap just grows larger and larger every year. Somewhere along the line, the giants outside the bubble will only have two options: merge with the Premier League or create their own Super League. And I'm definitely more inclined for the latter. There will be the regional, or in this case national championships in the beginning of each season, just like in Brazil. And then the regular European Super Season, where the best teams from the continent will compete in a league system to determine who will reign supreme. On the other hand, the Premier League teams will only grow stronger as the years go by. Nowadays, Bayern Munich would easily beat a team like Bournemouth or Everton, but soon, even the weaker sides will be able to compete against the European best. I mean, we're already seeing that transformation happening, with players choosing clubs like Aston Villa, Newcastle, over other European giants. But that's not all. I believe the Saudi League will still be around in 50 years. However, they'll never possess the most talented players because their audience simply doesn't value that. If you look at every big sport event that the Middle East holds, you'll realize that they're always looking for the biggest fight, the biggest superstars, not the current best. And that mentality isn't going anywhere. They're gonna host some Champions League finals before its eventual demise, they're gonna host super matches, but they're not gonna possess the best clubs or the best national team. But in the end, I think it's a good thing. The hungry players will continue to play among the elite, and the old legends will have a playground to do what they love the most, get paid like crazy, and we'll all be able to watch them for a little longer than what we could before. And speaking of legends of the game, do you really think Messi and Ronaldo won't be surpassed until then? From a statistic point of view, it's almost certain that they will, considering there will be way more matches and consequently more opportunities to score and to win trophies. Messi played in 5 World Cups and only won it on his final attempt. A player of a similar caliber would have about 10 opportunities and would probably win it at least once or twice in his life, diluting the value of the past generation's conquests at the eyes of the future fans. Same thing with Cristiano. At the time I'm making this, he has scored 724 goals in 976 matches. A player of his caliber who played an extra 200 matches throughout his career would likely have more goals. But if you still don't believe me, let's look at the past. When Pelé retired, no one thought that we would see another goal scorer like him, and boom, here's Cristiano. When Maradona retired, the Argentinians thought they would have to wait a century before a player like him appeared again, and 10 years after his retirement, Messi was scoring this legendary goal. In the end, football will only be a reflection of our society. We're constantly looking to be entertained, always looking for the next big match, the next big competition, and we'll pay whatever they want us to pay, cause we're ultimately hooked. FIFA knows this and will take advantage. They no longer make decisions to foster the integrity of the sport, and in time, things will gradually get worse. They're gonna use every excuse in the world to ultimately turn the game into a controlled business, deprived of its values and essence. Ultras and their pyro shows will be replaced by the club's own spectacles, and the atmospheres in the stadiums will be very similar to what you see in American sports, since fans won't have the motivation to go to stadiums because they'll be able to buy a VR ticket and watch the game in the comfort of their homes. Football will look better than ever, the presentation will be outstanding, but the spirit, the aura that made us all fall in love in the first place will be long gone. But hey, who cares, we'll all be boomers or dead by the time we reach that point. The people in the future will be okay with the changes because that's all they ever known. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but they'll be the ones wondering how we did things so differently in the past. Our grandkids will ask how did we survive without watching big football matches every day? How did we go through the hassles of staying in lines, buying tickets, getting wet by the rainy nights in Stoke? And how the hell were we able to wait 4 years for a World Cup? And we'll ramble about Messi and Ronaldo, lose our train of thought, and fall asleep with our mouths open without even answering the question. Thank you for watching until the end. I appreciate you, and I will see you on the next one.